At that point, I was getting negative. I was not happy at practices, and I was totally like letting that leak in like to my teammates, that they could tell I was being negative, and that's not what I ever want to bring to a practice. I want to be positive, be happy. Wasn't taking care of myself. I put on some weight. I wasn't putting my physical attributes first, so I was starting to become a person that wasn't me.
Did you ever hit a wall? And if you did, what was it? And how did you deal with it?
Again, stepping back, being removed, I can appreciate who I was for that team and my role in our success. Competitively, you want to be the best and be that person, but he also knows that I did everything I could to be the best teammate. And at the end of the day, that is going to take me way farther in life than maybe being that person who scores every time.
Welcome everybody to this week's episode of Fighting for Overtime. I'm your host, Coach Tony. Today's guest is no stranger to hard work, commitment, and competitive fire. From the CRUSA fields to college courts, Noelle Baxter has pushed through every level, and today we dive into that journey. She has gone through ECNL levels when it comes to soccer at CRUSA and FC Bucks. She has gone through Kutztown from her collegiate career, AAU, and obviously Archbishop Wood. Noelle, man, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
This is pretty exciting because, people don't know, like, I've known you since you were a toddler.
Yeah, I know. We go way back. My grandmom's your neighbor, too.
Yes.
So I know.
First person I met when I moved up here was your grandfather.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, he's an interesting guy.
Yeah. To say the least.
Yes.
But very, very, very awesome people. And I will say this, like, I've never, full transparency, and you know this, but I've never watched you actually play. However, social media, when it's used the right way, I always say is great because of your mom posting. And I feel like I followed you all the way through your collegiate career.
Yes.
Which is pretty cool, man.
Yeah, it's so cool. And Wood brings a lot of opportunities. We have like rare footage sports coming to our games, PA girls hoops. So there's a lot of coverage now on women's sports, especially at youth. And it's awesome. It's good to see.
It's so great. I was in, where was I? I was in Lancaster. I was at a sports store, and it was like all different kinds of plaques. And it was the first time I saw a Caitlin Clark jersey, like just hanging up. And I was like, wow, it's coming.
Yeah.
Like it's finally coming. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It is. It's amazing. It really is. And what we do on this podcast is we talk about obviously your accolades, but also, some anxiety that maybe you, something, mental struggles you went through, because we all go through it. I tell people that all the time. Coaches, parents, children. You mentioned you played for a pretty highly esteemed program at Archbishop Wood.
Yes.
And we're going to get to that. But first, you started out soccer,
yep.
Right? And you played for a pretty prestigious level at ECNL level, which people don't realize it's above travel,
yep.
Right? It's pretty elite for FC Bucks. So what were kind of your memories from soccer?
Yeah, definitely. So soccer was my first love in sports. I love soccer. My parents put me in ballet when I was 3, and I very quickly learned that wasn't my thing. Yeah, so maybe that's where I got it. But my mom told me I look like a linebacker, so I guess it didn't work out very well.
Man, we definitely got to cut that for real.
But so dance wasn't my thing. They put me in soccer, and I just loved it. And then I actually lived in Erie for a little while, so we moved back when I was about 8, and that's when it started to get really competitive for me. I joined CRUSA, and it was just so fun. We made so many friends on the team, and we actually went on vacation to Mexico with some of them. We just were really close. So I loved it. It got to a point where it was getting cutthroat towards like 7th and 8th grade. And I realized it was going to get cutthroat, but I didn't realize it was going to get that cutthroat. My coach was bringing like girls from New Jersey on the team. And it was a great lesson. I learned a lot, and I played with some very competitive soccer players, but like 7th grade, I tore my meniscus. So I kind of just started getting burnout, and that's when basketball started getting super competitive too. So I did make the switch, but soccer brought me a lot of lessons. Yeah,
so you tore your meniscus.
I did.
That's tough.
Yeah, it was tough. I got actually really lucky. I had extra meniscus, which is like super rare. So
wow.
Recovery time was not that bad, but it was definitely my first major injury, and it was tough for me. It's tough, like you gain a little bit of weight, and when you're not playing, you lose some of that skill. So coming back was tough, and that's eventually when I made the switch to full basketball. But yeah, it was tough.
Now, did you come back to soccer first, or did you go right to basketball?
I did. I started like guest playing for like Warrington, and I think VE I played a couple of tournaments for too, because I just wasn't sure if I was ready to give it up yet, but I couldn't commit to the full FC Bucks experience.
I like how you say that, experience.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. So you tear your meniscus and you've already said before that you start to see how cutthroat it was getting, right? They're bringing other people in. Would you ever sit there and think to yourself, man, like this is going to be tough for me. I don't even know if I'm going to be able to play because now these people are going to be ahead of me because I can't train and can't practice. And you're talking about what, 7th, 8th grade?
Yeah, definitely. It was super tough. And these girls, they were better than me. Straight up, they were really, really good players. And I knew that I could get to that level and I could keep up with them. But once I tore my meniscus, it was just a big blow to my ego, just to my fitness in general. So that was tough. And it was tough giving soccer up. At the time, I was like, oh, I'm ready to be done. But like looking back, I'm like, I wish I would have maybe tried a little bit harder to stay in it because I do still love it. Me and my brother juggle all the time. And
really?
it's super fun.
So what position did you play?
I was center mid.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That's a pretty tough position because you're playing offensive defense.
Yeah. It's a lot of fitness, a lot of ball footwork. You have to be really good with your footwork. It's less speed, which is good for me because I'm not super fast.
Okay.
But a lot of facilitating, which I did like.
So if I had to ask you your favorite like soccer moment, like anything that stands out in your mind.
I would just say I think we went to Boston though. Once we went to FC Bucks, it was like these really far away league games. So like all up and down the East Coast. It wasn't quite West Coast yet, which was more like high school.
Okay.
And like Texas and stuff. Like you're going all over the country, but we went to Boston and it was just a really fun ride. Like the games were super tough. I think we lost both of them, which was embarrassing. But it was just a really fun trip, and it was my first FC Bucks again experience of playing like a really hard league game like far away. So that was just cool, like knowing that we're literally going to Boston for a game. Like this is legit. So
nice. I remember. I mean those when you get to those upper echelon leagues, it's not always a tournament. It's like you're driving just for one game sometimes. So it's a lot. Now, when you went to your mom and you went to your family, was like, listen, I don't think I want to play soccer anymore. Like, did you have a conversation about it, or how did that come about? Like, how was that like?
Yeah, I'm very close with my parents, so I think they knew I was starting to get burnout, and they saw my frustration, and they saw it as a good thing as me stopping. I mean, of course, my parents were sad because they've seen me play this growing up. It was my first sport, but they were super supportive, and of course, they showed me the pros and cons of each decision, and they tried to help me weigh it the best I could. But they knew, I think, that it was time to make the switch and just focus on basketball.
And then when you go straight to basketball, now how that transition, where did you go? What was your first basketball experience? Did you go right to AAU? I don't think so, right?
So I started basketball even before that. I started in 4th grade.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah,
so you were doing both.
So I was doing both for a while. And then at that point, it was just getting serious in both ends. I'm like, I can't keep doing both, like, which is a whole nother issue with youth sports.
Yes.
Like, just the picking one or the other. But yeah, so I started in 4th grade and I started on Upper Makefield Heat. They're now called Heat Hoops.
Okay.
Under Kari Cairone. Yeah,
okay. Grade. So let me ask you, let me backtrack a minute because I've had this discussion and you kind of gave me the in with the choosing because I went through this with my daughter, went through this with Taylor, and I've seen this with kids. They're just not sure. And some parents are pushing them to pick. Some parents are telling them not to pick. You have coaches that are like, you need to play one sport, right? Yeah. So what, like, thinking about that now, looking at like how much has that changed from then, or was it the same as much as it's bad right now in youth sports?
Yeah, I mean, I think my situation was a little different just playing for the programs I was playing for. Heat was actually Kari Cairone. She's super big on multi-sport athletes. So
oh, wow, that's good.
In the basketball realm at that point, it was fine. It was soccer that was telling me, you got to quit. You got to focus on soccer. If you want to be a collegiate athlete, like you say, you got to quit. And now knowing everything that I know that's not true. And maybe I could have, like, obviously you want to focus on a sport, but I could have done both and still played college. But it definitely was tough. It's definitely way worse now, though. I see it's getting worse year after year.
I wonder what it is with soccer. It's so crazy you say that.
Soccer is really tough.
It is.
Yeah, and I do know, like, a lot of the girls that I played FC Bucks with, they committed to college before I did. I committed junior year to Kutztown, and they committed, like, freshman, sophomore year. So these girls almost know their future when they're 14, 15, which is another scary thing. These girls are making these decisions to go to college when they're so young.
Yes.
But I mean, for soccer, that is just the norm. And if you're not, it's like, oh, what am I doing wrong?
But I love how you said that now that you look back on it and say, I could have done both.
Yeah.
Right. So that's a message I tell parents all the time. Like, you be involved, right? Like, make sure you're involved, because just because the coach isn't the end all be all, let's be honest. Like, you still have to insert yourself into the conversation, right?
Yeah.
And know what's best for your kid. Now, how, like, you mentioned heat hoops, and you mentioned Coach, who what was her name again? Coach Kari.
Yeah.
So I see you light up when you talk about her. So you must have really liked her. So what kind of stamp did she put on your career?
Yeah, definitely. She was my first basketball coach, and when I started basketball in 4th grade, I was honestly a little behind with the girls that were already playing. It's my first time picking up a basketball ever, and I wasn't very good. And for me, I don't like not being good at things. Like, that
I
was
love
a
it.
blow
I
in
love
the
it.
ego, especially after soccer. I'm one of the best in the soccer team, and I'm good at basketball. Oh my God, I don't even know how to dribble.
Gotta take a step back.
Yeah, I'm like, this is a learning experience. But she taught me the fundamentals of basketball, and that's something that's also overlooked, and we can speak on that later. It's just learning the fundamentals. And like, now I feel like everything just gets so fancy, but she taught me the basic fundamentals of basketball. She taught me I could be a multi-sport athlete. And she really put an emphasis on my ball handling, which is something that I think to this day I still have. I remember this one game we were playing at Somerton. It was the keeper. We were playing at Somerton, and she put me in as point guard for the first time. And I must have got stripped like 10 times, like cookies for this other girl. And if you're a basketball player, you know that is the worst thing to happen to you. And my family was there, but she believed in me. She kept me in. And although I felt like crap after, it's such a learning experience for me.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that, because she didn't right away yank you out. She didn't right away. She let you fight through it, which builds that lets you fight through adversity right live on the court. Right.
Exactly.
So now that was a lot of people right now have a bad taste in their mouth when it comes to AAU. And I think I have no experience with it whatsoever. That's why I want to ask you.
Yeah.
So I see a lot of crazy like fights with parents. I see a lot of like Del Carey had come out and was like, listen, I pulled my kids out of AAU. I didn't want them playing. It was too much of a commitment. What was your AAU experience for those, like, just for you specifically? How did it work for you?
Yeah, I didn't have any issues with AAU. I loved it because it took basketball to a new level. It was every weekend you were playing in tournaments, and it wasn't just one league game. It was 4 games in a weekend, 5 games in a weekend. So for me at the time, that was great because I loved it, and I was starting to really find my love of basketball. But I will say, in the later years, it became a lot of a money scheme, and I did coach AAU last year.
Oh, did you?
For Coach Mike for Magic.
Nice.
Yeah, I should have told you that before.
That's awesome.
But yeah, so, and it was cool because I'm coaching these Wood girls too. It's just awesome experience, but I can see how much money they're paying through a weekend, and it's ridiculous. And there has been talks of lawsuits about it too, and these people that are at the clocks doing the games, they're not even paying attention, and they're letting the time run, and these girls are paying how much to get in front of college coaches to play, just the experience of playing in general. Who cares with the college coaches? But and they're just letting time waste. So I definitely would say the money part of it has gotten to be a bit ridiculous, but I do still think that AAU is great because you learn a lot of things you don't learn in high school, I would say.
No, it makes, I mean, listen, it seems like it's a very valuable resource if used the right way. And right now it's just, unfortunately, I think there's probably programs out there that are probably great, but there's also the other programs, like you said, there are a lot of money grabs, because that when you get into paid coaches, then got the whole NIL getting involved now, where players are like, look, I need to be branded properly. I know I'm going to get money. I mean, I know kids in high school that are getting NIL deals, which is crazy.
It's crazy.
I mean, the money changing hands right now is just it's astronomical. But you then go to Wood, and let's speak the Wood way, right? You had a very big a lot of accolades just from a team standpoint for Wood while you were there.
Yes.
For 4 years, right? Full 4 years. What was that experience like? Because from afar, it looked phenomenal.
Yeah. I mean, it was amazing. The 4 years were amazing. There was a lot of ups and downs, but playing for Wood on the front of your jersey is like no other pride I've ever experienced. You get into this program, and I don't even think I realized, I've heard things about it, but when I got in, you don't realize until you're there. Every day is just like a battle in practice. You're earning your spot, and Coach Mike would tell you this. He tells everyone this. Even if you're a senior and you played all 3 years, if you're not coming to practice that day, you might not play. It doesn't matter what you did in the past. It matters what you're doing right now. And I was playing with some of the best competition in PA every single day at practice. So you could imagine the mental and physical toll it took, but you can also imagine how much I grew as a player and how much I learned. And even though it could be really tough some days, it made me the player who I am, absolutely. So there's definitely a lot of pride. I still like fight people about it, like in high school or in college. I'm like, oh, I went to Wood. We probably beat you guys. Like I have so much pride, and I could be the most annoying person ever, but I don't care. That's my school.
I love it. I love it. And it's funny. Like I just had on a one of my former teachers who is big into Catholic League, and that subject came up. What you just said, he was like, it used to be a big deal back in the day where it used to be like, I play for St. Tim's, I play for St. Matt's on my chest. Now it doesn't really matter. But the one thing that I've learned is I feel like Wood continues to go down that path where they really instill with you. This is I wouldn't say an opportunity, but it kind of is a treasure for you to take on that school is so nostalgic when it comes to that.
Yeah, that's very true. And I mean, we do have a tradition of winning. That's what we say. And it's true. We win a lot, and with that comes a lot of responsibility and a lot of pressure. I mean, it's tough knowing that you're going to look down upon if you lose, and oh my gosh, this specific team is losing. The Woods. What I'm trying to say, like if they're losing, it looks bad on them. It's their fault. It's not the previous teams. Like we want to uphold the legacy of the previous teams. So that comes a lot of pressure. That's what I was trying to say.
No, it's great. I mean, that's exactly, I get it. And I mean, you mentioned earlier, ups and downs, right? So did you ever hit a wall mentally or physically in those 4 years? And if you did, what was it? And how did you deal with it?
Yeah, definitely. I would say, honestly, I've hit way more walls mentally than physically. Don't get me wrong, our practices are really tough. And it wasn't even a lot of, conditioning. It was just all of our drills were running. So I was in great shape. Mentally, I did hit a lot of blocks. Again, I was playing with these girls. I wasn't even one of the top 5 best girls in my team. And I'm not saying I was a good basketball player. I played Division II basketball, but I was just surrounded by Caitlin Oriole, Villanova, Ryan Allen, Vanderbilt, Villanova, Dana Kiefer went to Bryant, Izzy Larson went to Northeastern. So I'm surrounded by all of Breva, went to Quinnipiac, all of these really, really good basketball players. So it was so hard not to compare myself every day. That was, I think, one of the toughest things. And also accepting my role on the team. Because I wasn't a scorer. I never have been a scorer in my life at basketball. I've always been a facilitator. I'm the one who sets the screens. I get the rebound, which at the time I didn't appreciate. And I was like, why am I not scoring? Why can't I do this better? But now, again, stepping back, being removed, I can appreciate who I was for that team and what I did, my role in our success.
Now, so did you ever, because it's deep, right? And you mentioned it, and not everybody can accept their role, right? And so was that your role all 4 years?
I would say yes.
Okay. So did it ever get easier throughout those 4 years, or was it always a struggle?
It was tough. And it was tough probably throughout the whole 4 years. And I can touch on this too, because for Magic, I was one of the best players, like top 2, 3, whatever it was. So I had a different role in the Magic. And I felt like, I'd play this summer with Coach Mike because I had the same coach. Coach Mike was my Magic and my Wood coach. So I was with him all year round, which is tough on both of us, I'm sure. I'm sick of him, he's sick of me.
I love it.
But I would have this great summer with Coach Mike where, I have a big role. I'm playing 32, whatever AAU was minutes. And then I get to Wood and I'm not that same role. And I'm in a different expectations for me. And that was tough because you want to carry that into your high school season, but it just wasn't the reality because of the difference in the team. And I wasn't playing with Caitlin and Ryan and Izzy and Bree and all these really good basketball players. So, and don't get me wrong, those girls were all Magic were great too, but it just wasn't the same level. So it was definitely a struggle going from my role in AU, then going to my role in Wood.
Now, did you already know, coming into each year, were you ever I think my role is going to change this year? Or are we ever you know what, I'm just going to accept this and I know what my role is going to be, but it's still hard, mentally, man. It is not easy because you're a competitor, right? And you want to compete and but does it ever feel like you're just constantly getting pushed back And it's like, all right, how do I just keep fighting back just for myself?
Yeah, I accepted the role, I guess, all 4 years. I wanted to do whatever we had to do to win. So I was okay with that. Obviously, like watching Caitlin score the winning shot or whoever get the winning block or steal, like that was tough because I wanted to be that deep down. And don't get me wrong, I was so happy for my teammates and I wanted us to succeed. Of course, I wanted it to be me. But if I was, setting that screen to get Caitlin open or hitting that pass to Caitlin and she made the game-winning shot, that was a good feeling too.
Well, I want everybody to understand something, and I know you know this, but what you just said is it's not selfish. Like I've said this before. Like I've talked about when you're a parent on the sideline and your son or your daughter's sitting there and she's not playing or he's not playing. Indirectly, your mind will always look at other players on that field and be like, you know what? Not to say that they're not, but why is my daughter or my son not playing, right? Yeah. But that's just you wanting them to be out there. Well, so what you said is real. Like, yes, I want to be hitting the game-winning shot. Yeah. As a coach, I would want you to say that, right? But then you come back with that and say, yeah, but I also know that if I'm setting the screen in order for that shot, I was involved and that made me feel good too. So right. I think people really need to hit home with that and understand that's what that really means.
Yeah. Definitely.
Because a lot of people right away, I know how people are right away. They're like, oh, she or he's a selfish player. No, it has nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
That's a drive and a competitiveness that you can't take away. And that's what we want all our players to be.
Exactly. And I could tell Coach Mike this to his face right now, all of these things. And he would respect that because he was the same way in high school. He was a role player and he played with some really great basketball players at Doherty. So he knows, like, competitively, you want to be the best and be that person, but he also knows that I did everything I could to be the best teammate. And at the end of the day, that is going to take me way farther in life than maybe being that person who scores every time.
That's so well said, because that is going to take you way past sports into adulthood as as a future parent, as a future employee of a company. That is the lifelong experience is that you learn. And you ever feel like, it's funny, you just said your coach was exactly like you as a role player. You ever notice that the best coaches and managers aren't the superstars? It's always the role players, because I feel like they've had to fight extra hard just to get to where they're at.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, he says that too.
Yeah.
I'm like almost as tall as him. He's not like a super tall guy, like basketball player. So, and he played soccer too.
Oh, wow. So a lot of common.
Yeah, exactly. So he knows. And sometimes that could have bit me in the butt. Okay, I don't want to say that word.
No FCC rules here. You're all good.
But because he knew that I was tough and I could handle things, so maybe he was harder on me than everyone else. And sometimes for me, as like a teenage girl, that was hard for me to swallow. I'm like, why is he being a jerk to me and not her? But he knew, because he was the same way, I could handle it. That's another part of like the mental struggles was I'm like, and he would say it too right now. He's like, I was harder on you, and I would maybe blame things on you that maybe weren't your fault, but I knew you could take it. And on the outside, yeah, I could take it. But when I went home, sometimes it was a struggle. My mom would see me, I'd be upset, and she would be like, oh my God, I'm going to kill someone. Like, what is going on?
I love it.
I'm like, Mom, no, it's okay. It's okay. But
that's what we do, man. That's what we do.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're going to do that one day too.
Exactly. Oh, I know I'm going to be the same way. Yeah.
You're going to do that one day too. I mean, listen, I don't know Coach McDonald, but I could say that I've never heard a story that wasn't positive about his work ethic and what he instills in his team. And listen, the accolades kind of speak for themselves. I mean, look, just the Wood accolades are insane for that girls basketball team.
Yeah, I mean, the past 5 years, we won states 4 out of the 5 years. Yeah. We win districts every year. Like, for us, that's not a thing, which I don't mean to sound like cocky when I say that, but for us, that's an expectation. Getting to the PCL is an expectation. Winning is always the expectation.
Yep.
So, he can, I'd tell him to his face, he can be a hard ass, like totally. And sometimes I really wanted to kill him, but he is so knowledgeable about basketball and he truly thinks what he's doing is the best for the team, even if it doesn't come off right. And I'll tell him that too. But yeah, I have a lot of respect for him.
You could tell. And listen, a lot of, just not you, I know there's a lot of kids in this local area that we've grown up with and we've known have been on teams like that. And it's just phenomenal. It really is. Now you transition to your collegiate career and you go to Kutztown. Mm-hmm. So that whole journey, why Kutztown? Was it academics? Was it sports? Was it kind of like a combination? And how did you fall in Kutztown?
Yeah, so I didn't have any really scouting or anyone looking at me up until like my sophomore summer, like after sophomore year. That's when I started, really emailing, getting myself out there. The recruiting process is
That's brutal.
It's brutal. And I think it's only getting worse. But,
yes.
You really it's kind of like reaching out to like a boy and they're not answering. Like it's just like it's like
I love that you said that.
Yeah, it's like, will he answer? Will he not answer? Will he even look at my thing? Yeah, that's how I feel.
I love it. It's like your 8th grade romance.
No, literally. It's like, oh God, I hope he even opens it. It's sliding into coach's DMs. But
that's hilarious.
No, but it's a lot of rejection and they probably won't even come to your games half the time. But anyway, like I'm putting myself out there, and then I got some interest from Kutztown. I had 5 offers. One of them was D1. I got to the University of Maine, which was cool. A little too far for me. But yeah, so I chose Kutztown because I had a couple of friends that went there too. Annie Whalen, she went to Wood. She played at Wood, and then she played at Kutztown.
Oh, wow. Okay.
She was 2 years older than me. Her sister, Casey, went to Basil's. I knew her. Annie's younger brother, Luke, went to Kutztown. And then just a lot of people that I knew from the area. And then also Shannon Ramoldi, who was my roommate at Kutztown, played basketball. She played on my AAU team. And she came to Kutztown. And my other AAU teammate, Bella, also committed to Kutztown. So there was 3 of us from the Magic going to Kutztown.
A lot of familiarity.
It was nice knowing that they were going to be there. And I really love the campus at Kutztown. It's beautiful up there. It's a small little college town.
It's not far.
No,
like it's not terribly far. God forbid, if something happens, you can come back home.
Exactly. My parents can come to my games.
That's huge too.
That was a big reason why I chose Kutztown.
That's awesome.
And then it's a good business school, so that's what I wanted to do.
That's all. So when you went there, how did that environment differ from being with Wood and doing the Wood way, and now you're going to Kutztown? Like, what was the transition like?
It was definitely different. Wood was like a D1 program in my eyes. It was, the culture there was D1. The practices were always hard. So I think I took that for granted a little bit. And I didn't I thought college would be the same, and it was a little bit different. I will say I thought the practices at Wood were harder than Kutztown, and I'm not to say anything bad about Kutztown. It's just the style of basketball I think was very different for me. I'm so thankful to Coach Hallman and Coach Malou for even giving me the opportunity to play in college, giving me a scholarship. So I would never say, anything bad. They're great people, but just the culture was a lot different, and it just didn't feel as high stakes, and it didn't feel just the same. And the competition wasn't the same in practice and everything. And I think I almost fell to that standard a bit. And I think that's why I ended up only played at Kutztown for 2 years. But I ended up stopping playing, and I almost lost myself in those 2 years, which is something I'm not proud of. I should rely on my, self for motivation and not other people. But it was definitely an adjustment, I would say.
And I wouldn't listen. I will say this: we all need somebody, right? Like I've said that all the time. Whether you're 8 years old, whether you're 80 years old, there's going to be times where you lose yourself through a process. It could be through sports, it could be through life, and you need somebody. Right now, here's this could be a tough question. I don't know if you can answer it, but you say you had an offer from D1, and your idea of Kutztown was it wasn't as competitive, I'll say, or structured as Wood. Do you think that you would have been different if you went to the D1? Do you think your mindset would have shifted a little bit, and you wouldn't have fell back, and you would have went all 4 years?
I think so. I think I maybe would have been not as happy in other aspects, which is why I don't regret not choosing Kutztown.
Love it.
But the program at Maine ran the same offense that we did at at Wood.
Okay.
And that was something that I played for all 4 years, plus AAU, because we ran the same offense in AAU. So I was really, really good at running that offense. I knew all the reads, all the backdoor passes, all those things I was good at. I think my game would have translated a lot better at Maine.
Okay.
And because at Kutztown, we just ran a completely different offense. It wasn't a fluid offense, so it was just different.
Okay.
I'm not saying that's wrong, but it's just different from my style of playing too. And at Maine, it was more sharing the ball, less reliance on shooting, and at Kutztown it was I was supposed to be a shooter, and I've never been a good shooter.
You were saying that you were a facilitator.
I've never been a good shooter. Yeah, I was a facilitator, and
right.
I if I'm wide open, maybe I'll hit it and I'll shoot it, but I've just never been that player. So it might have been better basketball wise at Maine, but in other ways it would have been so far from home. It's I went there in August and it was like 60 degrees. I'm like, this is
yeah. It's not good weather in Maine.
I'm like, this is not for me. And I don't like the cold. So
no, but I think that's a huge learning point for anybody listening, because I had a national scout on with me, and she played D1 soccer. Her name was Mackenzie Shizzle, and she does a phenomenal job in the recruiting process. Okay. And that's the first thing she said. Like, she looked back at her career, and when she talks to kids in the recruiting process, is like, you have to think about your well-being too. Like, yeah, you might want to go to the school because of what they offer, but are you going to be happy? Yeah. Right. So there's a little more than that. Right. So I'm glad that you say you didn't regret it, because that's one thing I say. You live life with no regrets. Yeah. No regrets. You know what I mean? Yeah. So you play. So what happened that second year you finish up? How did the process go about you saying, you know what, I don't think I want to play anymore? Who'd you talk to? How'd you come to that decision?
Yeah. So I think after the first year, it was more like, okay, it was just freshman year. I didn't play that much. Kind of expected. We had older girls, so it was like, okay, like I can deal with that. And after the second year, it's still, I wasn't playing much, and it wasn't because I wasn't maybe good, but maybe because I wasn't fitting into the offense. And I had this coach who'd been there she's still there, Coach Maloof. She's been there for a while, so I didn't see that changing at all. And if that's not going to change, it's not going to get better for me. And at that point, I was getting negative. I was not happy at practices, and I was totally like letting that leak in, like, to my teammates. Like, they could tell I was being negative, and that's not what I ever want to bring to a practice. I want to be positive, be happy. Wasn't taking care of myself. I put on some weight. I wasn't putting my physical attributes first. So I was starting to become a person that wasn't me. And that's when I realized, okay, I need to take a step back and think about this. I talked to my parents so many times about it. I talked to my one teammate, Annie, who also, she was going to play her 5th year, but didn't. So we kind of like quit like at a similar time. Just people that knew who I was and what I represent and what kind of person I am. And they could all like say to me, you're not happy. If you want to step away, we totally respect that decision. And my mom was thrilled when she found out that I quit, because she knew I was going to be a happier, healthier version of myself.
I'll tell you what, man, that's huge, because and you couldn't even had to tell me that. I knew your mom would have been okay, because I knew your mom, right?
Yes, yeah.
But not all parents are supportive that way, right? No. They're pushing their kids to that. They're pushing their kids. So there's a lot to unfold there. But I will tell you what, man, that's a lot for you, just for yourself, to just say to yourself, listen, this isn't me. And you took a step back for the team, for the betterment of the team, because you knew you were bringing the team down, and you knew it wasn't you. So that's a huge self-reflection moment, man. That's not easy.
Yeah, no, it was tough. And I mean, it's a huge blow to my ego too. I've played sports my whole life. Like, and my family, it's big in sport, all big in sports. So it meant a lot to me to be a successful, like, college athlete, successful athlete in general. So like, it was a lot of the decision. What was stopping me was, oh my God, what is everyone going to think? They're going to think that I quit. I'm a quitter. I wasn't good enough to play in college. I wasn't good enough to play at Kutztown. Whatever it was, like, that was holding me back. And then I realized that does not matter. It doesn't matter at the end of the day. I had a great conversation with my uncle Danny down the shore one day. I told him, because he's just a huge impact in my life. Like, I love speaking to him. He loves me, gives me great advice. We had this conversation. He's like, you got to do what's best for you. And he was a college athlete too, so he knows. And he was like, you have to do what's best for you. We're all proud of you no matter what. You're a great person. And that, above everything, is the most important. So having that conversation with him, with my parents, helped me make that decision.
So now we get out of college and we're done playing. Now we get to look back, and we can look at what has happened prior to you and kind of compare it to what's going on right now, because you have a younger brother who is my son's age, who I've coached, and he's a great kid. And I know he's going through some things, because every kid goes through some things, but you've watched that generation. And it's not, how much older are you than your brother? 4 years?
4 years, yeah.
4 years. So, and I probably think it's probably drastically changed within those 4 years.
For sure.
One of the biggest things is social media. And, we mentioned NIL earlier, and we mentioned about everybody, needing to build their own brand. Mm-hmm. Let me ask you a general question. What's your feel when it comes to NIL?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's great for a lot of reasons. And I think a lot of these athletes deserve the recognition that they're getting, because, you look at these comment sections on a post and it's like all about, Caitlin Clark or whoever it is. And I do think all that attention going to them, they should get compensated for that. But it does feel a bit superficial in youth sports. And I would just say, because you're not probably getting that money yet. You know what I mean? Like, it's not happening yet. So it just feels like a highlight tape every single time I open my phone. And it takes away from the real purpose of sports, which is, I mean, of course, if you're playing a team sport, which is being a good teammate, being a good person, being a good student athlete, all those things. And I think that is something I would like to see change a little bit so we can bring these kids like a little bit down to earth, you know, like, yes, it's important to be a good basketball player, but it's also important to be a good person. It's important to be a good teammate, be a good player for your coach, be coachable. So I definitely see a big difference in that. Even from there was these highlight tapes and things, but now these kids have full blown Instagram pages just for their sport. Yeah, and I've never seen that before. Like, yeah, it was Twitter back then, and that was a big thing. But like these full Instagram pages, and you know, I do think it teaches important lessons, and it teaches good lessons in marketing for sure. But and like sticking up for yourself and putting yourself out there. But it has gotten a bit extreme, I would say.
I completely agree. Like, I was always a proponent of, and a college athlete, people are making money off their name. We know that, right? Penn State is sold out for the next 10 years. They're bringing in millions of dollars based on those athletes. And some of those athletes, I've always said, listen, these guys, these girls, they have full rides, but in order to keep that full ride, the practice regimen, the workout schedule. I mean, you know, I'm not telling you anything you don't know, right? How do they work and make money? So I've always said, like, I feel like they should get paid. Yeah. But this is a different level.
Yeah.
And you said it's starting to really embed itself into the culture. And I think that's why coaches have the hardest role right now. And speaking of social media, a lot of those accounts are run by parents. A lot of those are run by private entities, right? So looking at just social media in general, can it be the absolute downfall for some of these younger players looking to get scouted to the next level?
I think it can if, you know, these coaches are coming to your games and they see your parent yelling in the stand like a crazy person. If I'm saying like now there's so much access to knowing who everyone is and, you know, what they're posting and what they're commenting back to. If they curse, like if I was a coach and I saw that, I'd be like, oh, I don't think I like that. I'm not saying cursing's bad, but I'm just saying in general, like there's a lot more opportunity to mess up now as a kid, especially with social media. So I think, you know, we have to teach kids to be careful and to maybe not implement it so young into the sports. High school, I get it. It's starting. Right. It's more like for college, but anything below that, I think is a bit ridiculous because I do think it takes away from the culture.
Yeah, it really does. And listen, the Eagles have been successful as a football team by saying what? Listen, if you have a domestic violence issue, we don't want you. If you, they're like, I don't care how good you are. Yeah. So it's not saying that you won't get drafted or picked up, but you might not get to play for the team that you want to play for, all because of the image that you. So it is such a huge thing with social media, but it also brings the whole burnout perspective, not just from sports, but constantly being on your phone, constantly being on there to upload your highlight reel. And I mean, I'll tell you what, like I'm burnt out myself. Like I don't know how kids now they do it, but just from a sports perspective, like I've talked to so many athletes, and I'm sure, did you have private training?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, a little bit. Coach Mike trained me a lot, but
okay.
Yeah.
So how many days a week would you say there were normal 7 days that you were touching a basketball?
I mean, almost during the season, every day.
And how many, like, when you talk about structured training, practices, or games, what would you say out of 7 days?
6.
Did you ever feel burnout?
Oh, absolutely.
So, and that was at as young as what age?
Yeah, I guess high school was when it really, like 13, 14 is when it was like every day. But I still, again, 7th, 8th grade, I was training all the time.
But that was what you loved, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. So did that passion, is that the only thing that kept you going at that time?
Yeah, I would say the want to get better and be the best. And like from, I guess, when I was 6th grade, my parents started putting like the college aspect into my mind because they said, of course, if you want to play, we'll support you. But if that's an option for you, I think you could get there. And once I heard that, I was like, okay, now I'm playing for my scholarship. I'm playing so I could be the first collegiate athlete in my fit, whatever it was.
I like that because I think, you know, a lot of people take that the wrong way. And I've said this before, like, I think it's like 1.3% of the episode. I think 1.3% kids get a Division I opportunity, right? Mm-hmm. So I would always hate the parents that would come to me as a coach, my kid's going to play Division 1, but it bothered me, right? Like, I get it. I'm not, trying to rain on your parade, but it's like, do you understand how much of a hard task it is to get to that point?
Yeah.
Now, as well as I do, whether as another player, as a coach, you can point out and you can be like, wow, that kid's special. There's something going on there.
Yeah.
Like, you could see it. So I love that, like, your parents are like, look, you have an opportunity, and that you took that ball and you ran with it.
Yeah.
Now, what about the players that right now that don't have anywhere to play? And what I mean by that is I've come up with a whole episode about there is no more rec league anymore. There is no more. I mean, yeah, there's CYO, but it's really watered down. Everything has to be a travel program, right? So what do you think about how it's changed to where there is no more, I'm just going to grab a t-shirt and play on Saturday with my friends. What about those kids that are getting left behind?
It really stinks. And it makes me sad because basketball and all sports, it's just become such a competitive thing, and it's just cutthroat. Like, and if you're not the best, you don't feel great about yourself, and you can hear it in the stands. Oh, they missed a layup, and you hear like the groans from the parents. It's become so much, and I love that there is kids out there that still want to just play for fun and have fun, and there should definitely be more opportunity for those kids, because at the end of the day, unless you're going to the NBA, WNBA, or professional, we're all going to be in the same spot after college looking for a job, and you want to be a well-rounded, not burnout individual. So I'm glad that that's still there. I hope it stays, and there's the rec leagues come back, or CYO, whatever it is. I hope that can come back, because everyone deserves to play basketball. It's good or bad, doesn't matter. And there's so much lessons that come from team sports that not all kids, if you don't want to play, that's fine, but kids learn a lot, and I think that there should be opportunity for everybody.
I agree. I hope that there's more people that step up and give those kids those opportunities, because they're just non-existent anymore. Yeah. And it's just a bad mix when you put a player on a team that we all know doesn't belong on a team, but it's only because they don't have anywhere else to play. Yeah. And then when you're that coach who wants to get them involved in the game, and then, like you said, like, they make a mistake and everybody's, who let this kid, like, it happened to my daughter. I remember, like, who let her on the field? Like, and I'm like, wow, like, can we just relax a little bit and bring it back into perspective? But unfortunately, that doesn't happen. And that messes with the mental health psyche of these kids as well. Mm-hmm. And now it's starting at even a younger age. Like, I'm seeing 7U, 8U going through drafts and picking players and formulating these big elite travel teams in baseball before they can even throw a ball, before they can even pitch, right? Mm-hmm. Like, so it's just it's crazy to me to see how much it's spiraled out of control. And speaking of mental health, and as you were coming up, you said you had a lot of ups and downs. Is there any, no names, obviously you don't need any names, but anybody maybe close to you, or a friend that confided in you, or just asked for your help, or you saw from afar from another team and said, wow, they're really going through it to a level I never thought was possible, all because of youth sports?
Yeah, definitely. I think definitely more at the high school level. It was really exhausting playing for Wood at times. And as much as I love it, and there were so many high highs, there was a lot of low lows. And yeah, I had a couple girls, since I was captain to my junior and senior year. I tried to make myself available to everyone to come talk to me, because I understood completely what they were going through. So yeah, I've talked to girls that were going through this burnout, and at some point it's like, what do I do now? Because you're in the middle of the season, or you're in your state playoff run, and you're not feeling great, and there's something you can really say to your coach, because you're trying to be a good teammate. You know what I mean? You're trying to not make it about you. So I think me making myself available was good for those girls, and I had that too. We had great seniors, but upperclassmen. But yeah, I definitely seen a lot of girls struggling, and it's hard because you don't want to make it about yourself. You want to be a team player, but at some point you do have to put yourself first.
Now, do you think it is easier to have kind of like a colleague, so to speak, a teammate, somebody that is your age, has been through it, than somebody above them, like a parent or a family member, to be able to help them through it?
Yeah, definitely. I think my parents know me the best. However, like, I talked to my one friend Annie a lot about Kutztown, because she went to Wood and Kutztown, and we were very close. We're still really good friends. but she knew exactly, she saw what was happening. She was in practice every day, seeing what I was going through. My parents don't go to practice. You know, they go to the games and they see what happens in games. And as much as they know me, she knew me very well as a basketball player too. So I think it's important to have people, and especially people with your best interests in mind, I will say, because that can get mixed up too. Like, you can talk to someone who maybe doesn't, who is the same position as you, like maybe they don't want to see you succeed. I'm not saying that's a malicious thing. Maybe it's not even conscious for them.
No, it's that's true.
Yeah, but
that's true.
Yeah, make sure the people that you're speaking to want your best interest in mind. Not looking for a rise out of you. Not looking for you to get mad at your coach. Just want what's best for you.
I love that, because it is true. Because you just don't know. Yeah. You can't just confide in anybody, right? And I think it's great, the rise of psychology in sports. Every team has a sports psychologist now. I think that's so big. And did you ever notice, and I think this is crazy, like, I know it's so hard for us to differentiate from superstar and average individual, but they also have a mental capacity that can be damaged too, right? Yeah. So it is big to be able to go through that. It really is. Now, before we have a little fun in here, if you were speaking to a 15-year-old kid, whether it be boy or girl, I want to say girl, because I'm going to be honest with you. I say this because I am a father. I am a girl dad. Best job in the world, by the way. But like, it's different, right? 100%. So I used to get arguments with coaches. I'm like, coaching girls is different. You have such a lower level of a line that you can cross, meaning their emotional, standpoint, right? So if you could talk to that 14, 15-year-old kid about anything, about your journey and what you learned about, what would you say?
I would definitely say embrace your role. That was the biggest thing that I can look back on now. And I've already talked about this, but be proud of what you do on the court. And I mean, if you're not doing anything good on the court, don't be proud of that. But I'm saying, like, if you are doing your best you can and you are making these plays, maybe it's not the winning shot, maybe it's not the highlight reel, but if you are, doing these things, be proud of that and embrace your role, because there's so many important roles on the team and you can't always be the superstar. And that's something that I wish I would have appreciated about myself growing up, because another thing is celebrate your wins, because for me and at Wood, it's an expectation of winning. Winning, it's like, oh, okay, we were supposed to do that. Like, obviously it feels good, and the championship games are a little different because it's a little bit more exciting, but like the districts every year, it's like, okay, that's expected. But now when I graduated college and I got my degree, my mom's like, oh, are you excited? I'm like, yeah, kind of, like, I guess it's cool. Like, but for me, it's an expectation. Instead, I should be celebrating my wins and celebrating everything. And I think that's something that we lose in kids, because we are saying you have to win. You have to be the best. You're on this team. Like, we're losing that celebration of wins. And I think that's something that kids should be doing more.
That's huge, because I'll be honest with you. Like, I literally just went through that as an adult. Like I said to my son, AJ, I was like, dude, I feel bad. He's like, what do you mean? I was like, well, like, here you are, like, your last 2 years, I was fully transparent. Taylor graduated, Chris graduated. So I'm a very tough parent when it comes to academics. I expect the standard. It was funny. Taylor used to always be like, all the girls would be like, man, I want Coach Tony. My dad, she's like, you don't want to be Tony's kid. Like, she knew, like, it was tough living with me, right? But I said to AJ, I was like, dude, I'm so sorry, because I don't think I celebrated how well you did in school, because I kind of just expected it. And I think it was because he was the last one. So I think that's a huge celebrate your wins. I love it. Now let's have some fun. Let's do a little rapid fire thing I like to do. And because I know you still watch sports, and I know you're a sports fan. So I always say, like, must see TV, right? I'll say right now, who is your must-see TV athlete in any sport that says, if I got 2 minutes, I would have put on the TV and I want to watch highlight reel of him or her?
I think Steph Curry. I love Steph Curry, and I didn't always feel that way about him. I kind of thought, like, he was annoying and cocky, but now, after all of these years of success, I could always put him on and be like, he amazes me every single time. And I think maybe because I was never a shooter too. So I'm like, wow. Like, Caitlin Clark's the same way. I would say if she's like my women's basketball equivalent, she is pulling up from anywhere and it's going in. And I can appreciate that as someone who's not really a shooter. So I would definitely say, yeah, Steph Curry or Caitlin
I like
Clark.
that. I like that. I mean, listen, Cece she's already goated. Like it's ridiculous what she's been able to do. And listen, I say this all the time. Like I know people hate on it, and the whole thing with the Angel Reese and Kit, like listen, like just be happy that it's being elevated to another level. Exactly. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the Steph Curry thing is so real. I used to be like, dude, look at this dude rubbing his shoulders and stuff. So I'm like, God, is he good?
Like you can't even be mad about it because he's that good.
Wow.
That's how you know he's good.
And he's a very sound human and grounded human being too. Exactly. When you hear him, and I mean, I think there is something to say about somebody like marries their high school sweetheart and they grow together and it's just a different vibe. I think he has it. Now, what about of yesteryear? Who's your favorite must-see TV? If you could go back, whether it be 10 years, 20 years, say, I want to watch this person for 2 minutes, who would it be?
I guess this would be fitting knowing my past, but Cristiano Ronaldo.
Wow.
I
was not expecting that.
No, it's not. I was a big soccer fan, like watching it. We're actually starting to watch it more now. My family and brother had it on today. But I used to wake up every Saturday morning at 7 a.m. to watch the Premier Leagues because in like Europe, it was like 6 hours ahead. So it was like regular time. But I'd wake up and watch, and I was hoping it was Cristiano Ronaldo on my screen. And he's good looking on the eyes. So I like that too.
I was going to say, listen, man, I'm very comfortable with my sexuality. He's a good looking guy.
Oh, he's a good looking guy, yeah, for sure. Can't be upset.
Listen, man, I don't have I got a man crush on Cassie, but not Cristiano Ronaldo.
But Cassie?
So, yeah, I saw your eyes. My wife is saying the same thing, man. It's so funny. But listen, Noelle, this has been fantastic.
Thank you so much.
I really listen, and you know, just so you know what I try to do here, and I tell everybody, like, as this youth sports monster is evolving and as it's changing, like my whole role is like, we can't change it. Like we can't stop it. It's on a train to no return. However, I feel like somebody that's 12 or 13 listening to you, or maybe a parent listening to me saying, wow, I heard him go through it. I heard her go through it. And it's not just me. I feel like if we could prepare that next generation of, listen, we're not saying it's bad, but understand things are going to happen. Be prepared for it. I think that we can do justice and make it a better place.
No, yeah, that's awesome. And like I told you, if this gets to one kid's ears and they can learn from it, then that would be happy. And I say here and I say all these things and I sound super strong, but I was not like that when I was younger. I am years beyond it, and I can look back and appreciate it and appreciate how I've grown. But at the time, it was a lot harder than I'm making it sound. So it's okay to go through those rough patches and to feel anxiety and all those mental health struggles you may have. But it does get better too. And you'll realize when you can look back on it, when you're a little bit more mature too, and your brain develops that, you'll appreciate it more. But yeah, I'm happy.
I agree. Listen, I say this all the time. People, if you have points you want to talk about, stories, message me, DM me, and I get that a lot. Like we'll do this episode, it'll go out there, and I guarantee you 3 days later I'll get somebody to send me a message and be like, I just want to let you know my daughter went through this, or my son. Like, it's great to understand that people can have that outlet, be able to talk. So as always, everybody, man, you're not going to change it. Memories and moments, not always about the wins. And you said it. Celebrate your wins. So that's where we're going to end. We're going to celebrate our wins and continue to strive in youth sports. Noelle, thanks so much.
Thank you so much.
Fighting for Overtime is a Rise and React media production. If you're looking to start a podcast, if you're looking to get some direction, hit us up. Let us know. We'll help you out there as well. Again, for everybody, enjoy your time, memories and moments, and keep fighting that fight. Continue to fight in overtime to make your kid have the best experience that they can have when it comes to playing youth sports.